Hi there, my name is Richard Wright and I'm the CEO and founder of the Enrichment Project. My hope is that in putting this video out there, it might help you to think slightly differently, might just jog your thoughts a little bit, and in that way I hope that I've been able to enrich your life. I'm basing the video today on one of my favorite quotes. It's attributed to Mark Twain, although who knows these days, but I love it anyway. It goes as follows: I've suffered some terrible things in my life, some of which have actually happened. Wow. How much of the things that you projected going forward in your life, the things that have really, really worried you, the biggest fears that you have actually come true. A lot of the time, these things that we worry about, the things that are uncertain, we look into the unknown, to the future, and especially now with COVID-19, and how much of that stuff is actually going to come true. So here's an example. I'm going to tell you a story, and this is where I learned this lesson, and it was a hard lesson to learn. Last year, I entered only one endurance triathlon. It was the 70.3 Durban. It's a half Ironman. And the reason I only entered one race last year was because I had a particularly crappy year from a health point of view. I came into the year with the third round of brain cancer. I'd really been battling from that point of view. And right at the beginning of the year, I went on to a trial drug from Israel, a chemotherapy drug. And for 3 months, that just messed me up. Six love. It literally, the toxicity, it felt like I was poisoned. And eventually I took myself off that, but the damage was already done, and it done quite a lot of damage to my lungs. And at that time, the doctors were pretty convinced that the cancer had spread to my lungs. A bronchoscopy revealed that it was just nodules on my lungs. When I say just, from the toxicity, pulmonary toxicity from the chemo. But I was battling from a breathing point of view. I then had a small brain bleed and suffered a couple of seizures. Life wasn't great, and as a result I didn't manage to do any training at all. But I was determined to go to this race. I'd entered it, and what's really important for me is the concept of a DNS is a lot worse than a DNF, and I'll explain. A DNS in results from an athletic race or endurance race or anything is stands for did not start, and a DNF is a did not finish. And in my life, a DNS is bad. When we commit to doing something and we pay the money or we sign up or whatever it is and we don't get there, it does some really horrible, destructive things in your brain. And so what's important for me is that I just get to the start line and I just give it my best shot. And if I don't finish, I don't finish. That's okay, because I gave it my best shot. So I was determined. But now I was filled with fears. All of the things that I was suffering were big. I was worried about the fact that I had brain cancer. I was worried about the fact that I had pulmonary toxicities and problems with my lungs. I was worried about the fact that I'd done zero training. I was worried about the fact that I had this bleed and the seizures. And so for the first time in the 4 years of fighting cancer, I was standing on that beach and I was really fearful about getting to the finish line. And then as we start something, isn't this incredible? That's exactly what happens. As the gun goes off, as the person says, okay, start writing an exam, whatever it is, as soon as you cross the start line, all those fears go out of the window. All of those fears leave you because you're concentrating on the task at hand. That's something that's really important right now. If ever there was a time when you need to concentrate on the task at hand, it would be now. Great leaders are not the people that have great thoughts. Let's be honest. Great leaders are the people that do great things. So right now, the time for thinking, you're just trapped in your house and some of you are going to work, some of you aren't. At least we can get out of our houses tomorrow and we can exercise, because that's the best form of getting through the thoughts in my head. But I tend to overthink a lot, and that's bad. So I've got to really control my thoughts into actions. And you'll see the word behind me there, thoughts into actions. So my thoughts need to be the actions. But the minute you get going and the minute you start get into the water and you start swimming, at that point in time, all the fear goes out the window. I was having a great swim and I was really enjoying it, despite the fact that I'd done no swim training. And I was about 100 meters from the shore and I suddenly felt the water pull me back, and I'm thinking, but I'm going forward, why is it pulling? And I suddenly thought, oh my goodness, I wonder if there's a wave, and I looked behind me as I breathed. There's this huge wave bearing down on me, and it came out of nowhere because there weren't massive waves that day. And I tried my best to push forward and kick as hard as I could in the hopes that I could catch this wave in, but it was too late, and the wave sucked me under, pulled my arm, and literally whipped my arm around, whipped my body over it, and slammed me right. I saw the beach right up and slammed me down into the sand. Smashed my goggles against my face. It cut my nose open and started bleeding, and my lip was used as a bit of a break against the sand. That little piece of skin that attaches there, that was gone. And then I heard this under the water in this excruciating pain. But I mean, tumbled around the wave, and eventually I managed to get myself up to breathe, and then I found my footing, and I could stand, and I'm bewildered, and this pain in my shoulder was really hectic. And as I'm trying to get out of the water, I look down, and my arm should be down next to my body, and it's up there, and my shoulders like completely disappeared. And at that moment I thought, oh my goodness, is it a dislocated shoulder? Is it a broken shoulder? What is wrong? But all I wanted to do was just get out of the water. And the paramedics came to help me, and they helped me over to the medical vehicle on the beach. And then the doctor came over to have a look, and the nurse came and then took my goggles. My cap was gone. The wave had done a number on that one. And my timing chip off my ankle was gone, which means no timing chip, no time. Even if you finish, no result. So, you know, there was a problem if I was intending to continue. But the doctor came over and he said, I think your shoulder's dislocated. And the pain was, wow, it was incredible. Anyway, now he wants to take my wetsuit off, and I was saying, you know, I'm prepared to die with this wetsuit. It's okay, knowing how tight these things are. And you got my one arm out, the good arm, and now this arm, I've got no use of it at all, can't control it. And now he's trying to pull the wetsuit, and it's really sore, and I'm trying to pull the arm back, but I can't pull back because he's pulling the wetsuit. And in this whole movement, eventually this thing pops back in, and I'm like, wow, that's great. And immediately there was less pain. So I sat there for a while, and the nurse came across, and she wants to do stitches and debridement, and I'm like, no, can't I continue? I can't get back into the race. And the race referee came across with a camera, and she put her phone in my face, and she said, DNF, I need to DNF you. I'm like, no, we don't have to DNF me now. This is, you know, surely not. And there it was, I was DNF'd. And then I said to the doctor, surely I can continue. I mean, I'm feeling much better with the shoulder. And I tell you what, why don't you give me some pain meds? That's all I need right now. And he said to me, I tell you what, if you stop right now, there's an entire vehicle behind you with pain meds. Go and help yourself. You want to continue? None. I'm not giving you anything. That was a good decision, but it wasn't what I wanted to hear at that time. A little while later, I said, no, I really think that I can continue this race. I tried to get hold of the race referee, and I argued, and eventually, okay, we'll put you back in the race, but only did you finish the swim legally? Did you walk unassisted out of the water? I'm like, for sure I did. And off I go into the transition, and I fight with them for the race officials to give me another timing chip, and eventually I get another timing chip, and then I put my cycling stuff on, and I go all the way down this 1.3 kilometer transition to find my bicycle, and I get to where my bicycle's supposed to be, and there's no bicycle. I'm like, how is it? Maybe I could hit my head, maybe it's chemo, maybe, I don't know. And I look down at the race number on my arm, and I look at the bike stand, I look at my arm, I look at the bike stand, like, it's the same number. Where's my bike? I'm thinking, well, how's that possible? So then I decided to run all the way to the end of the chute. I find a race referee there, and I say, listen, my bike's gone. She looks at me and she says, maybe one of your friends took it. I'm like, friends don't take friends' bikes in an endurance ultra triathlon. It's a 90 kilometer cycle. My shoes were on there, my bottles were on there. It's set up for me. Nobody swaps bikes. And then the spectator next to her said, well, they're obviously not your friends anymore, are they? I was like, you're not helping. Anyway, she says, I think you need to run to the other end of the transition. So now I'm like, really? And now I'm running all the way to the end, and there's blood coming out of my nose and my mouth, and people that I know are coming out of the transition. What's wrong, Richard? I'm like, I've got no bicycle. And eventually I get to the other end of the transition, and I find a race referee, and it's a friendly face. It's someone I know, one of my old sponsors. And she's like, what's wrong? And I'm like, my bicycle's gone. And she looks at her phone, she says, but you were DNF'd. And when you were on the beach, we took your bicycle and got it out of the way of the other athletes. I'm like, where's my bike? And she said, well, there it is over there. So I said, well, can I have it? She says, but you DNF'd. So she said, listen, I tell you what, I'll sort this out. Go and grab your bicycle, and off you go. I finished that cycle, although I couldn't use my time trial bars because the shoulder was just too sore. And then I started the run. And the pain was excruciating. And I'd run until I just couldn't handle the pain anymore. And then I clipped my thumb over my race belt number just to try and relieve it. And I walked until I could bear it again. And then I ran. And then I walked, and then I ran. And I finally finished. And I got that finisher's medal. And that meant everything to me. To me, that finish was, if I can do this, I can beat brain cancer again. If I can do this, I can show my girls and prove to my girls that their dad's going to be okay. This is that important to me that I do this thing. And then I went to the medical tent afterwards, and the same doctor who was on the beach came up to me, and he looked at the medal around my neck, and he was like, did you finish the race? And I said to him, for sure. And he said, I didn't even think you'd get into the bicycle, let alone finish. You must be a little bit nuts. And I said, no, not nuts. It's just how badly you want something and how much you're prepared to go through to get it. So I got the medal. And about a month afterwards, the pain just still hadn't subsided. And I eventually went to go and see a surgeon in Johannesburg. And Dr. Barrow decided, listen, I think it's okay. He did this examination, looked at my face and kind of gauged the pain. He said, I think it's okay. But because you're a swimmer, let's just make 100% sure. I'm going to send you for an x-ray. I don't really think it's necessary, but let's just make sure. X-ray came back. He called some of his colleagues into his rooms to come and have a look at this. He's like, look at this. This is the guy's shoulder's broken, and the top of my humerus was gone. It was like, he said, like a ping pong ball, somebody taken a thumb and put it in there. And he looked at me and he said, how on earth did you manage to finish a half Ironman with a broken shoulder? And yet here you are a month later. And I want to tell you something. So let's go back to Mark Twain. Do you think for a second in that race I was worried about the things I was scared about and my fears and the unknown, the thing that I was stepping into, the unknown? How am I going to finish? Is it going to be okay? Am I going to be able to breathe? What's going to happen to me? Do you think I thought about those things at all? I didn't think about brain cancer. I didn't think about a brain bleed. I didn't think about not training. I didn't think about lungs. I didn't think about any of that. All I wanted to do was finish. And I was just in the race. That's what happens. So all those things were fears didn't come to pass. Those things that I've suffered did not come to pass. And then lastly, if you think that I'm unique, I am not. Every single one of us have got that within us. If you think that you want to get through this crisis, you will. How badly do you want to? How badly do you want to thrive? You can either focus on the obstacles or the things that are standing in the way, in which case you can't even see the finish line. Or you can decide that you know where you want to go and get involved in the actions. What are the things that you can do right now? For me, in a triathlon, it's one swim stroke in front of the other. It's one pedal stroke in front of the other. It's one footprint, one foot. It doesn't matter whether I'm running, walking, crawling. It doesn't matter. I'm moving forward and I'm doing the actions. And that's really important right now. Busy yourself with the actions. As soon as you aren't, you're getting into the space of being negative, and then you overthink, and then you start suffering. And I don't want you to suffer. So I hope that helps you in a little way. I hope that's enriched your life slightly. Please follow me for more. Please like if you like the video. And until next time, stay safe. Cheers.